Hello, it's Monday, June 22nd, and I hope all the dads out there had a nice Father's Day and were able to spend some time with family. I just want to remind everybody that this coming Wednesday, the 24th, at 7 p.m., Stephanie Kimball is leading a book study. And the book is called Be the Bridge, and it's about racial reconciliation. And I think it will be very interesting. A problem, hopefully that will not be a problem by Wednesday, is that some people, the book has been out of stock because of all the recent events in the world. And but you can see if you can get it on Kindle through Amazon. So I hope we have a great turnout. So last week we had Theology on Tap, and it was just four of us, but we got into a discussion about social justice and how, as part of the Reformed tradition and as Presbyterians, we are called to be active in social justice, to care about social justice. And some Presbyterians don't think they'd rather not go there. And I've heard this on and off throughout my ministry. But guess what? We need to go there, and the awareness and the need for more social justice is evident everywhere. So anyway, somebody in Theology on Tap talked about the Book of Confessions, which is we are governed by the Book of Order and the Book of Confessions. And so let me just tell you a little bit about this. The Confession of 1967 in particular. And so that was adopted by General Assembly at the time, and it put the confession along with creeds from the early Christian church, the Nicene and the Apostles' Creeds, and from the Reformation, the Scots Confession, the Heidelberg Catechism, and the Second Helvetic Confession, alongside the Westminster Confession and Catechisms. But the Confession of 1967, which is 53 years ago, it's all about reconciliation. And God's word is evident in this confession. Part 2 is called the Ministry of Reconciliation. And here's the first little bit. To be reconciled in God is to be sent into the world as His reconciling community, us. This community, the Church Universal, is entrusted with God's message of reconciliation and shares His labor of healing the enmities which separate men from God and from each other. In other words, God is part of the equation. We are the other part. And we're supposed to help in the work of healing bad feelings, of healing things that separate us, and that separate men, and I will throw in women, from God and from each other. And then if you go a little farther, this was written for 1967, 53 years ago, and it could be read, it will be read in a second. It applies today just as much, it's just as relevant today as it was then. And so this is it's under the title of Reconciliation in Society. God has created the peoples of the earth to be one universal family. In his reconciling love, he overcomes the barriers between brothers and, I'll say, sisters, and breaks down every form of discrimination based on racial or ethnic difference, real or imaginary. The church is called to bring all men and women to receive and uphold one another as persons in all relationships of life, in employment, housing, education, leisure, marriage, family, church, and the exercise of political rights. Therefore, the church labors for the abolition of all racial discrimination and ministers to those injured by it. Congregations, individuals, or groups of Christians who exclude, dominate, or patronize their fellow men, however subtly, resist the Spirit of God and bring contempt on the faith which they profess. Does that ring any bells for what's been going on about racial injustice? It's interesting that we are supposed to be part of that equation, God and us, to make a difference in the community, to strive for social justice and for reconciliation between all of us. So I thought that was timely and interesting. So blessings.